but that's really.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honorable guests, and welcome to our Queen City Toastmasters meeting. My name is Connor Waite. I'm our Sergeant of Arms, and I now call this meeting to order. Today we have two speeches. Alan is giving his first icebreaker. Congratulations. And Dr. Harvey is also giving a speech. Our theme of the day, led by our Toastmaster, John Cappello, is getting in the zone. With that, I'd like to start off and welcome our president, Vanessa Waller.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Queen City Toastmasters. My name is Vanessa Waller. I'm the current acting president of the club, and I'm so happy to see several of us both on Zoom and in person that are, I think, new faces or guests. But I'll start with the Zoom guests just because I can see you all a little more clearly. So it looks like we've got two guests on Zoom, if I'm not mistaken. We have Carla and Matthew joining us remotely in Zoom land. Carla, welcome. And my apologies if you may be a South Park Toastmasters member or someone I maybe just overlooked as you are South Park. Okay, well, welcome. So for those who don't know, South Park is our sister club, and we do have members from that club joining us. So we're happy to welcome all South Park members, and Carla is part of that group. And I think that just leaves Matthew, our guest on Zoom. And Matthew, I think I recognized you from prior meetings, so thank you so much for coming back to join us this evening. And would you like to say a little bit about your interest in Toastmasters and how you found us?
Me or Carla?
Or sorry, you can go right ahead. Carla is technically, she is not a guest since she is part of South Park, but you are welcome to go ahead.
Of course, I see. Well, I had the opportunity to witness speeches about 2 weeks ago, and it was inspiring to me. And I just hope that I can speak extemporaneously like you guys in the future. As I was telling Madam President, I had a bit of a traumatic experience when I was younger. And whenever I get in front of a crowd, I get the familiar flutters in my chest, making it very difficult to articulate well. And so I hope with practice, I can someday obtain the same level that you guys are at.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think it's a very relatable feeling. A lot of people say it's a cliche to say butterflies in your stomach before a speech. So you're certainly not alone. You're among friends here. And I believe we also have some guests in person, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll turn it over to our VP of Member Engagement, Dr. Harvey Tran, if there are any guests in person to say hello to tonight.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Vanessa. Our first guest today is Dale. Dale is a modeling partner. Dale, would you make an introduction?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'm Dale. Came here with modeling. I came here to Toastmasters to pretty much not build confidence, but to work on what I'm doing, what I have already. I have an upcoming job where I'll, be doing marketing. I'll be speaking to a lot of people. So I want to just brush up on my skills and just pretty much put the icing on the cake to already what I have, but not to discredit anyone for has problem doing this, but also be encouraging to others like, hey, you can do it. Don't be afraid. Everybody does have troubles throughout life with anything. This is just the bump in the road, and you can get through it because, you can do it. If you believe you can do this, you can do that. You pretty much do anything. So that's why I came here today and, to encourage others and also encourage myself to be better and just strive to do great things. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I love how your goal was to help others and encourage others. That's such a wonderful skill to bring to the workplace or any other setting that, for that matter. Dr. Harvey, do we have any other guests in person to introduce?
Yes, Madam Toastmaster, there are two more. Asanya, would you make an introduction?
Sure. I don't think this is on, but I'm just gonna speak loudly if that's okay. Is it for, okay. Hi, guys. Yes, I just showed up impromptu. I've been visiting other Toastmasters. I'm here because I'm preparing for a talk specifically. So I need a place to practice. I also just really have a love and appreciation for the art of communication and being able to storytell. So I figured this would be a good place to get that skill brushed up on. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. I agree, storytelling is a wonderful skill to pursue.
Excellent, Asanya. This is a great platform to work on your speaking, where you can practice in live. And as Dale said, just do it. We all can do it. We just gotta just do it. Next up is our honorable guest, Heather. You guys seen Heather for the last few weeks, and she came with her daughter, and always an honor to see you here today. Can you make a brief introduction?
Hi, I'm Heather. I'm just here to work on my communication skills, to perfect and see how I perform under pressure, and just to develop more communication and face the fear. And my daughter loves the program, by the way. She will be back next week. She's just got well, she doesn't love it, but she's working through it. I should say that. So she will be here hopefully next week. Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
Great to see you set an excellent example for your daughter. Happy to have you here. Back to you, Toastmaster David.
Thanks. Vanessa, go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Well, with that, we've got two dynamic speeches lined up, so I will turn it over to a very important member who will be guiding us through the meeting tonight. And that is none other than our Toastmaster of the evening, John Cappello. Let's give John a warm welcome.
Good evening, Queen City, and our honorable guests. So happy to have you here tonight, and thank you, Toastmaster Vanessa, for that introduction. Now, like any great Toastmaster, you got to have a theme. And tonight, my theme is getting into the zone. Now, we have a very diverse cultural background as our membership. It's a key part of what makes us strong. And I don't want to presume that everyone knows what that phrase means. What does being in the zone mean? Does it mean I park somewhere where I shouldn't? Does it mean I'm in an auto parts store? Who can help me? Anyone have a definition that comes to mind when they think about what it means to be in the zone? Anyone? Jamie?
I think it means that you are performing at your most optimal level.
That's exactly right. When I think of the zone, I think about, wow, you can do no wrong. You're unstoppable at the moment. You should be charged with murder because you're killing it. That is what being in the zone means. But you know, that wasn't good enough for me. I had to look it up in the Urban Dictionary. And in the Urban Dictionary, it states, being in the zone is a mental state of consciousness whereby a person is fully immersed in energetic focus, performing a task at a superior level, unfazed by criticism, and almost doing so in effortless fashion. That seems pretty cool to me. When I think of in the zone, there's always a sports connotation, I feel like. And I automatically, I'm from Chicago. Who else do I think of? Michael Jordan. The big statue out front of him, out front of United Center with his hit. And that is the person to me that epitomizes being in the zone. I don't bring him up because of all his scoring titles and championships. Clearly the guy had talent. But the reason I bring him up is because of what I admired about him was his mental fortitude. He could literally take over a game, and when he delivered when his team needed him most. And that's the epitome of being in the zone. So often the score would be tied and there'd be time for one more play. And the camera would zoom in on Michael, and Everyone in that stadium knew he was getting the ball. Everyone on the other team, everyone watching TV, and yet here he was, all calm, cool, and collected, almost with a smirk on his face, as if he was thinking in his own mind, already envisioning himself drain that last second bucket. Wow. There used to be a jingle in the 1990s, was for Gatorade. I'll sing it for you because I have no fear. Sometimes I dream that he is me, like Mike, got to be like Mike. Now, the reason I think about it, I wanted to be like Mike, but not because I wanted to be a basketball player. I just wanted to be able to deliver like he would deliver when it mattered most. And when I think about being in the zone, I don't just want it in sports. I want it in all aspects of my life. How cool would it be to be in the zone in your own career? I'm in sales. What if I was a leading sales producer in my company? Got that promotion that I've always wanted. What about in my relationships as a husband and father? To always know the right things to say and lead my family through life's turmoils. What about in public speaking? What if you had the purposeful and the impact where you could be shoulder tapped to lead an industry conference or win an award? That's the type of in the zone mentality that I'm talking about. And it's not so much about the output. We talk about the output, but what matters most is comes back to what's between our ears. And that is the in the zone mentality. Now, through the course of tonight's meeting, I'm going to be bringing up 3 key ingredients of what it takes to be in the zone mentality. Before I do, I'm going to introduce a few of our fellow Toastmasters that are going to help me on this journey tonight to make it a successful meeting. First up, it is with great Queen City pride that I welcome to the stage our recent award winner and contest award winner, our fellow Toastmaster, Andrea Williams. Serving as inspirational / joke master. Let's not forget that.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. I appreciate this time. First of all, I want to say thank you to my club for your support and your help during this journey. But I wanted to talk about 7 seconds. Because for 7 seconds, you have a chance to make a first impression, and you never get a chance to make that first impression twice. Now, guess what? I did that in less than 7 seconds. 7 seconds seems to be the time that they say it takes for people to get a first impression of you. And just so that you understand how long that is, we're all going to do a moment of silence for Toastmasters. So there was something that John applauded me for a couple of weeks ago, and he said, I have the spirit of the pause. And the spirit of the pause is taking that break to collect your thoughts, hear what the other person is saying, engage with the other person, make sure that you're being positive, make sure that you're saying something of value. You can do that in 7 seconds. So when you think you have to have such a long time to figure out what you want to do because you don't have time, I bet you have 7 seconds to say, am I living my life the way I want to do? 7 seconds can get you the answer to your future. 7 seconds can make you think before you act. 7 seconds can help you make a great first impression, and 7 seconds can keep you in the zone. Back to you, Master Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Andrea. Next, I would like to introduce someone who's going to be keeping an eye on our filler words as through the course of the meeting. Please help me introduce, I believe he's online, Toastmaster Colin Stifler.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster John. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. It's my distinct pleasure to serve as our grammarian this evening. As grammarian, I have two fundamental responsibilities, the first of which is to, as John noted, track the use of filler words and other grammatical faux pas. I do not intend to intimidate anyone with my responsibilities this evening. It is merely an attempt to help make you aware of the use of these words, as for many of us, using filler words is an unconscious act. If you allow me to just briefly share my screen for a moment, I'd like to share a diagram that may be familiar to some of you called the conscious competency model. Can everyone see my screen? Wonderful. And so I personally am an offender of the use when it comes to the use of filler words. For me, using filler words is not necessarily a conscious act. It is, for me, an unconscious incompetence. And so one of the things I enjoy about coming to Toastmasters, as I inject filler words into my remarks here at the moment, is the opportunity to bring my unconscious use of filler words to the forefront of my consciousness. And so tonight I'll be keeping a tally of any filler words and the specific types so that at the end of the meeting, I can share them with you. So hopefully you can become gradually more aware over time of your use of these words, and then ultimately can consciously choose to avoid using them. And the golden goose, the holy grail of this exercise is at some point in the distant future, probably for me, hopefully in the near future for you all, is that your use of filler words will become unconsciously removed from your lexicon. My second responsibility this evening is to introduce the word of the day. I will also be keeping track of the use of this word by our speakers this evening. You get no prize other than bragging rights and pride for having used a vocabulary word which may be familiar to some of you, may be new to others. And the word that I've chosen this evening is sublime. And I am not referring to the ska band that was very popular in the 80s and 90s. I am referring to a word that, as I learned today, has many more definitions than I was previously aware of. It is an adjective, it is a noun, and it is also a verb. For the sake of time and simplicity, I would like to focus our attention this evening on its adjective meanings. The first of which is, and I quote dictionary.com, elevated or lofty in thought, language, etc. So an example of that in a sentence is Paradise Lost is sublime poetry. Definition number 2 is impressing the mind with a sense of grandeur or power, inspiring awe, veneration, etc. That definition in a sentence is Switzerland has sublime scenery. And then the third, my personal favorite definition, is simply supreme or outstanding. John, that meal you made tonight was sublime. So with that, I turn it back over to you, Mr. Toastmaster of the evening, and best of luck to everyone in cutting out your use of filler words, as I have not provided a good example of doing so myself.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. That was a sublime explanation of the grammarian role. That was just like a layup. Okay, here at Toastmasters, we're all about keeping track of time. And to introduce and to explain her role as timer, please help me welcome Lynn Green.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I will actually be giving my introduction from my seat because I have a prop. So as the timer for today, my job is to help our speakers stay in the zone, the time zone that is. And to do that, I will have this prop that gives them a sense of how they're doing on time in terms of a red, green, yellow, and green. And I said that in reverse timeline. So we have a couple of speeches tonight. We have an icebreaker that's 4 to 6 minutes long, given by Alan. So at the 4 minute mark, I will have the green light on. 5 minutes in, it'll switch to yellow, and 6 minutes will go to red. We also have a 5 to 7 minute speech, and we'll do the same thing, 5 minutes at green, 6 at yellow, and 7 at red. After all of the timed speeches, we will have a table topics round that is a 1 to 2 minute impromptu speech. For those, at 1 minute, you'll see the green light, at 1.5 minutes, the yellow, and then the red at the 2-minute mark. We'll also have evaluations of the speeches tonight. Those are 2 to 3 minutes long, and following the same timeline, you'll see green at 2, yellow at 2.5, and red at 3. And with that, I'll turn it back over to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Lynn. And finally, in another supporting role, I would like to welcome our immediate past president to explain his role as the ballot counter, Toastmaster David Jones.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to also recognize someone who has a very sublime Zoom. Colin looks like he's on the Brady Bunch. I mean, that's like the perfect little lit colored picture on the background. It's like perfect for him. All right, tonight is Ballot Counter. We like to recognize our favorite speakers, and all of you have one of these in front of you. And if you could just tear off the bottom so it's not noisy during the speeches. And at the end of each segment, whether it's speakers, table topics, or evaluators, you write down your best or favorite person, and I'll come around and collect them. And at the end, we'll give out the award for our favorite speaker. And for those of you on Zoom, if you could send it in private message to Club View, I'll go check on that. And that should do it. Back to you, Mr. Table Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster David. Okay, we're almost ready for our main event, our prepared speeches. But before I do, I'm going to give you the first key ingredient in getting an in the zone mindset. And that key ingredient is focus. Focus. You hear that so often in the zone definitions. And I'm talking about tunnel vision, the horse blinders, or you're not distracted. You have a lot of naysayers out there. You want to keep them, you want to focus, keep your eyes on the prize. Now, you've heard me mention Dean Graziosi, who was a life success coach. He has this great story where he talks about how he went class 5 river rafting one time. He went to the river rafting guide and he was explaining all of the key precautions, safety precautions, and troubleshooting tips if you were to encounter an obstacle. And then he said something interesting. He said, when we get in the water, I'm going to always point my paddle in the direction that will safely get us through the rapids. I will not, however, tell you when an obstacle is coming. One of the adventure seekers raised his hand. Well, why is that? Wouldn't we want to know that? Every time I tell my rafters when a pending obstacle is coming, where do we find ourselves? Smack dab in the middle of it. Rather, when you focus on the clearest path through, my boaters make it through. The moral of the story is, whatever you focus on, you will get. If you focus on the obstacles, you'll probably find excuses. If you focus on the outcome, you'll probably find results. Now with that, let's start to the main event. And I'm really excited about this, our first speaker, because it's an icebreaker, and icebreakers are special. I believe Toastmaster Allen has only been with us for less than a week, so I'm really excited and thrilled that he has taken the bull by the horns here. Please help me welcome to the stage, giving his icebreaker titled Dream Job, Toastmaster Allen Cappello.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for having me. My name is Alan Cappello, and I'll be talking about the dream job. I went to this restaurant 2 weeks ago, and I saw this lady. She was a cashier, and she looked kind of depressed and sad. And I usually run my mouth for no reason. I just asked her, "Are you okay?" She said, "No." I said, "What's happening?" She said, "I hate this job." I was this close to tell her there are many of them out there, but I didn't say anything. I just said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And I left. And that kept spinning in my mind. And I started doing some research. And I said, "Oh, what's my dream job? I started questioning, like, what's the dream job? What's the definition of dream job? And I went to work and I asked multiple people, many people that I work with, even my son, like, what's the definition of dream job? They say, oh, it's something that you do best with the least effort, something that makes you happy. Nobody says something about money, right? And I ended up coming up with my personal definition. I think my dream job definition is an exciting money-making process or exciting money-making opportunity. Because when I think of excitement, when you buy a new car, you're excited. When you have a new house, you're excited. When you have a new boyfriend or girlfriend, right? Or even when you order a package of Amazon, you already know what's coming and you're excited. So I'm associating dream job with something that hype me up and put money close to it. And I'm going to continue this presentation. Now I'm going to definitely need your participation. So who here has a job right now as we're speaking? If you have a job, raise your hands. Good. So who is currently working his dream job? Good. So who here has a dream job in mind? Something that he would like to do when he grows up? I'm expecting all this, right? So who here is 100% sure that your dream job is exactly your dream job? Awesome. So I was thinking about this last night, and I did this research, and I found out that 43% of the US population, only 43%, work their dream jobs. And that is depressing because we're talking about the United States of America. I'm from Africa, I'm from Cameroon, and we see United States overseas as the land of opportunity, right? Like you think everybody there is rich, everybody there is happy when you go to work. But when you come here, you find that hard reality that 57% of the US population depressed when you go to work. That's heartbreaking. To me, that's understandable. That's not understandable. So I'm asking myself, what's happening to those people? And I don't have the answer. And I started thinking, what if your dream job is that job that is closer to what you think is your dream job? For example, you're a nurse and your dream job is to become an X-ray technician. Your dream job is to like work with the MRI machine. And you don't want to go there because being a nurse is something that runs in a family. You feel like switching will be like letting your family down. Or maybe, I know this guy, he used to be, he's a pilot. He flew planes, he was so excited. And one day he didn't like it anymore. And accidentally he found himself becoming an airplane mechanic and he loves it. When I asked him, like, why did you leave it? It's all like flying a plane for me was like driving a car for the first time. You want to impress girls, you want to impress your peers and all that. And then it gets old, right? And then you don't want to do it anymore. So that's why he became a plane mechanic. He likes it. And what if your dream job wasn't your dream job, period? Like this guy that went to medical school and he ended up becoming a legal assistant after 5 years of investment. He couldn't handle the drama in the medical settings. He couldn't handle the blood. He couldn't handle sadness, death. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. He almost fell into depression. He decided to become a legal assistant. He works, he's happy. So you tell me now, if you find yourself in that position where you have to rely on your peer pressures to make a decision, do you think you will be happy? I mean, you don't have to answer this. So if I'm going to move on with this presentation, I need to point out that many people have the definitions of dream job, but today we're going to talk about something that some people need, that I think at least the majority of people need to do to be in line with your dream jobs. In this country, the majority of population spends 2 hours each day on the iPhone, 2 hours each day on social media, 3 hours watching TV. You check your phone 58 times each day. That is a lot of time that you can spend to put yourself on the right track, to update yourself
instead of updating other people's life. Your life is tired of watching you updating other people's life on social media by gossiping, commenting, and doing things that are not benefiting you. So I feel like my recipe of being sure that your dream job is your dream job, your real dream job, is to start by keeping your options open. Start by volunteering at your local hospital. Volunteer at the courthouse, starting by doing things that's volunteer at your fire department. When you do that at your earlier age, you can find out your path, or at least have more ammunition to know what job is your job, so that you don't have to rely on your peer pressures to make your decision. That was my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Toastmaster Allen, great job. Something tells me you've done this before. I think I'm gonna have to go apply for a different job now. You got me all fired up. Next up, our next speaker almost requires no introduction. He's recognized in Queen City as having plenty of energy, and I have no doubt he will deliver that again tonight. Giving his level 3 speech in his presentation mastery pathway, a speech titled Show Up and Deliver, quite appropriate for tonight. Please help me welcome to the stage Toastmaster Dr. Harvey Tran.
Thank you, Toastmaster John Cappello. Good evening, fellow Toastmaster and honorable guests, here as well as online. Let me ask you all this. How many of you guys run? Raise your hand. Excellent. Now, imagine that you have to run tomorrow, but today you got up and you don't feel so good. Maybe your stomach is irritating, your joint feel aching. The night before, you did not get much sleep. You overworked. You feel miserable. And then when you open the door to see the temperature and just to look at outside, even though you check on your iPhone, you know the temperature, but you just want to feel it. Right when you open the door, you feel this gust of wind and all the leaves in front of your house. You know, this is a bad day. The road is wet. You do not want to get out. Even though you're a motivated person, you don't want to get out. Now imagine, that's how you feel. But to be sublime, to get into the zone, you went ahead and just shut down your brain, shut down your mind, shut down all the reasons you have, which are correct and legitimate reason, but you just don't want to hear it. You put on your suit, your walking or your running short. I like to wear my, it's a long Adidas pants. I don't know the proper name for it. Just put that on and then just go out there. And after you run for about 10 minutes, the juice start to flow through your muscle, all the blood flowing, and you feel great. And then you look back, you feel like, God, this is a great decision. I'm so happy that I made this decision. Now wind the clock forward to the next day. You wake up, you heard the bird chirping right on your window, and you feel so good because you've been eating so well. You got your good night rest. Your wife gave you a good massage, all the good signs for the day to go. You don't even have any thought at all. You didn't even care to open the door to check because you know for sure that, hey, I'm going to go and run today. It's so easy. Now, you didn't have to make any effort. So compare that day versus the first day when you felt miserable. Now, imagine, what would most people do? Even on a good day, people don't do it because people tend to give reason, tend to give excuse. And I'm one of the people. That's how I used to be. Even though I have high metabolism, so I don't look as big as other people, but I was way out of shape back in the day. My mom and my dad, they made fun of me. My mom said, even if your dad pushed you, you fell down and die. That's how worse I was. But when I learned to not make excuse, just to show up and deliver, even on a bad day, even when the sun don't shine, even when the snow, the sleet, always show up and deliver. Because that's how you get into the zone. And when the good time comes, you'll be surprised at your level of productivity. And you'll be surprised by how much you will grow as a person. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you all, fellow Toastmasters here as well as online. Back to you, Toastmaster John.
Thank you, Dr. Harvey. Never disappoint, sir. Toastmaster Lynn, can we please have a timer's report?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And thank you, speakers, for your sublime delivery of your speeches tonight. Alan spoke for 6 minutes and 33 seconds, and Dr. Harvey spoke for 4 minutes and 7 seconds. So that's our timer's report. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Toastmaster Lynn. Now, I told you I was going to revisit the in the zone, the key ingredients. I've talked about one, I've talked about the focus. Got to have a plan. But what happens when life happens? What's the famous quote from Mike Tyson? Everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. If you want to have an in the zone mindset, you must have resiliency. You must be relentlessly persistent. You must persevere no matter what life hands you. But one of my favorite inspirational scenes, I like the Rocky series. Yes, the quality of the movies have declined over the years, I'll admit that. But there is a great scene in Rocky IV where an older Rocky is addressing his son. And his son is disgruntled about what life has handed him. And he's just upset and he wants to quit. There's a scene, I'm going to give you a little snippet of it. I just think it's great. It really highlights resiliency. This is Rocky talking to his son. Let me tell you something you already know. Life ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and it can knock you to your knees permanently if you let it. You, me, no one is going to hit as hard as life. But it's not about how hard you hit. It's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, how much you can take and keep moving forward. That is how winning is done. I love that speech. That speech says it all. Bulldog mentality. If you want to have an in the zone mindset, you must have resilience. Now, we're going to move on to the next section of tonight's meeting, and that is our impromptu section. And to lead us in that effort, please help me welcome to the stage Toastmaster Connor Waite.
Thank you, Toastmaster John. Today, I'll be leading our table topic session. And during this section, I'll be asking a series of questions, all open-ended. Please feel welcome to include any stories, examples to these open-ended questions. Most of them will be following the theme. And with that, do we have any first volunteers for our session? In person or online? All right. Heather, right?
Yes,
Heather. What is your method or process of getting in the zone? And you can include any examples, a story, someone you look up to that has a process, just any method or process of getting in the zone.
Okay, thank you. I got this one. So I'm an athlete, so I do ultra running. So I did 3 ultra marathons last year. And running that long of a distance is very, very challenging and hard. And the weather is not always permitting. And so it's about discipline. That's the best word to describe anything, to getting through and getting into the zone. So it's about focus and discipline for me to get through to the goals. Showing up when I don't want to, which might be 8 out of 10 times I don't want to. So there may only be 2 times where I actually want to show up. But I build confidence when I show up, especially when I don't want to. So I think for me, not wanting to is actually a blessing in disguise, because I gain the most out of showing up when I don't want to. And so to get into the flow state, I think it's about focus and discipline always. The flow state comes after you decide to start, and then you stay focused and you keep going until you get there, no matter what. And I fall and I knock down, but running is a sublime sport, in case. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. All right. David said Carla had raised her hand on Zoom.
I did? You're funny, David. I'll remember that. Hi.
Hey, Carla. All right. Can you give an example of how you avoid distractions to stay on track with a given task?
Thank you for that question. And of course, I can give examples. First of all, I'd say, what was the question again? I mean, I can't remember anything sometimes I'm only kidding, from 1 minute to the next, because I don't always stay on task. And it's difficult for me to sometimes stay focused. If I love something, I can do it for hours and hours and hours. But because I don't love everything I have to do, I have to find workarounds. And so for me, one of the most important things I do is I meditate. And so even right when you asked that question, I took a deep breath and just took a moment to center myself. Trying to stay on task is something that I've always been challenged with. I am successful in my career. I was successful in school because I'm task oriented, but to get to the end of the road, usually I take many detours and add a lot of creativity and extra junk into things that I'm trying to do. I consider meditation a way to stay focused. It makes me feel sublime, and it makes me remember what I'm trying to stay focused on and doing. So I can get in the zone if I love something, but most of the time I'm working very hard to stay focused and on task. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Carla. And we have time for one more question if anyone wants to join in person or on Zoom. Dr. Eric Laxer.
Yeah, if nobody else wants to do it, I will do it.
All right. What is a long-term goal that you have, and how important is the zone to accomplish this goal?
Thank you for that question, Connor. What is a long-term goal that I have, and what is it that I would use in the zone to accomplish that goal? One of my most important long-term goals now is to identify and discover the next part of my life. And as some of you know, I'm a physician, and after 27.5 years working long hours, long nights, weekends, carrying or shouldering a lot of responsibility, kind of like the pilot that Alan referred to, I decided that I wanted to make a change. And so my long-term goal is really simple. It's rediscovering myself and trying to figure out what it is that I really want to do, how I want to contribute to people and to our society, which is something I've been used to doing for many, many years. One of the methods that I use, coincidentally to what Carla said, is I love to meditate. And when I meditate, I also love to visualize. Those were two techniques that always helped me professionally when I was taking care of patients, especially in challenging situations. So in summary, my long-term goal right now is to discover myself. Some of the methods that I use, which I've used in the past, include meditation and visualization. And thank you for that excellent question. Back to you, Toastmaster Connor.
Thank you, Dr. Eric. With that concludes our table topics of the day. I would like to turn it over to our timer, Lynn.
Thank you, Toastmaster Connor. So we have Toastmaster Heather at 1 minute and 30 seconds, Toastmaster Carla at 1 minute and 24 seconds, and Toastmaster Eric at 1 minute and 28 seconds. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Connor. And for those that participated in the impromptu speaking, a lot to think about there. Great use of the theme, and I think we'll all stand to benefit from that. Now, before we move on to our evaluation portion of tonight's meeting, I want to share the third key ingredient of having an in-the-zone mindset. And it's simple. You just gotta believe. If I can see it, then I can do it. If I can dream it, there's nothing to it. I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. So spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. I see me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, that sounds like an R. Kelly song, and you would be right. And yet another indirect reference to Michael Jordan in the movie Space Jam. But just like Michael Jordan envisioning himself drain that last second bucket, you must believe in yourself so wholeheartedly that you see yourself accomplishing what you think you can. You must believe it so deeply that others might not even think you can do it. It's very simple. Just believe. That's the third key ingredient and perhaps the most important one. Now, we're all here at Toastmasters to get better. So I'm going to turn it over to our now also award-winning fellow Toastmaster, Dr. Eric Laxer, to lead us in the general evaluation section. Dr. Eric.
Thank you, Toastmaster John. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As mentioned, I am the general evaluator, and my role is to lead the evaluation portion of our meeting. Evaluation is also known as feedback, and think of evaluation and feedback just like we would think of feeding other things. For example, if you feed a plant, if you feed a child, the intention is feeding it to allow growth. And that is the purpose of evaluation and feedback, so that all of us can grow. I'd like to begin by introducing our first evaluator, and that is Toastmaster Vanessa, who will be evaluating the speech presented by Toastmaster Allen titled Dream Job. Toastmaster Vanessa.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. And thank you, Toastmaster Allen, for such an excellent icebreaker. I heard from David that this was somewhat of a spontaneous decision to give your icebreaker tonight. And I was surprised because you seemed so calm and composed, and your speech was just excellent. So it was my pleasure to get to evaluate your icebreaker tonight. You made us consider the concept of a job so sublime that we forget that it's actually our job, a dream job. And this is a really nice idea for all of us to think about, because all of us have thought, what am I doing with my life? is this the right career path for me? All of us have been there at some point. So I think all of us at some level can relate to this icebreaker. A couple of things I really liked about your storytelling. One thing you did well is you engaged the audience by asking them about their thoughts on what a dream job is. I loved how you asked questions and weren't afraid to interact with the audience. You shared a little bit about yourself. You talked about how your cultural background is from Cameroon. And one thing I would have liked to see more of, if you were to expand on this story, tell us a little bit more about yourself and how your culture impacts your view of the dream job. Maybe tell us a bit about your work history and where you're hoping to go in the future. One thing I loved also about the structure and storyline is you shared some specific examples of people you know and how their careers fit into the dream job spectrum, so to speak. You told us about a friend who became a pilot, and you contrasted that friend with a different person who was in medical school and decided to change careers because that was not, in fact, their dream job. I would have loved to hear a little bit more about those stories, but of course, an icebreaker is only 4 to 6 minutes, so you had to move on. But excellent job bringing in diverse stories to your icebreaker. You did such a great job with your body language and your stage presence. I was so impressed. I think most people, when they do their first icebreaker, they'll stand with some notes and they'll just look at their notes. You had no notes at all. One thing you could even work on more is moving away from the podium. I noticed you leaned against the podium. I think with your natural charisma and stage presence, you could definitely move around the stage some more and engage the audience even more with more diverse body language. But overall, excellent job with your stage presence, and your eye contact in particular was outstanding. I remember when I did my icebreaker, I think I was glancing around the room nervously. I didn't really feel totally relaxed, and you just had that relaxed presence that is so wonderful for any speaker. In conclusion, one thing that you could work on is structure and storyline. I love to utilize the rule of 3, which is sticking to 3 main points. I think you could think about that for your next speech. But overall, I absolutely loved your technique, and I'm so excited for your next speech.
Thank you, Toastmaster Vanessa. Our next evaluator is Toastmaster Jamie, who will be evaluating the speech provided by Dr. Harvey titled Show Up and Deliver. Please welcome Toastmaster Jamie.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. So Harvey is now joining us on Zoom. Welcome, Harvey. So first off, I want to commend your title, Show Up and Deliver. I think it's actually a really great encapsulation of how Toastmaster Harvey has approached Toastmasters. He's been a consistent participant. He has continued to show up and commit to improving as a public speaker, and I admire that greatly about you, Dr. Harvey. I want to structure my feedback on 3 dimensions: content, structure of how you approached delivering the speech, and then the delivery itself. You also asked me to focus on 3 things for you. That was flow and transitions, pauses as you move through the speech, and then use of space. Let's start with content. I love the storytelling approach that you took to your speech in terms of providing 2 very tangible examples of getting up out of bed and deciding whether or not you're going to show up that day. I thought that was a really powerful approach. I would love to have heard, in terms of ways to improve, a little bit more of your own personal view on how you mentally prepare for the day and how you address and overcome some of those challenges that inevitably face any of us. In terms of structure, you did a fantastic job of using that first example, but then contrasting it against the second example. The second day, I really liked that device of showing just how mentality can really shape our overall day and shape how we approach and accomplish things in that day. I thought that was effective. I would have liked to seen you get to the punchline a little bit sooner of what the speech was, right? Deliver, or show up and deliver, I think came out in the second example, but could have come out a little bit sooner in terms of just setting the tone for the speech, making sure that the audience was aware of what your key messages were. But again, I think the contrast of those two items was really effective. In terms of delivery, you did a great job of pausing throughout. I know you were working on that, but I really noticed it as you transitioned through a couple of, even at the beginning, right? You took a good long pause and before you started in on the speech. I thought you used the space well, as always. You were always a great physical presenter in terms of your gestures and body language and use of the space. Good eye contact and smiling throughout was also really effective. So overall, you're a very accomplished presenter in the delivery of your speeches. I want you to go back. I don't know if you do this often, Harvey, but I want you to go back and listen to the end of your speech because I thought your last comment of how much you grow as a person was really just delivered perfectly. It was sublime, right? You had the perfect tone, you had the perfect expression. And so you should go back and just kind of take that moment from that overall speech and figure out how to try to replicate it. I would have liked to have heard more. You were a little short on the time, right? So again, finding ways to build that speech out a little bit more and the delivery would be the one thing I would challenge you to focus on next time around. But overall, fantastic job and look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Jamie. I would now like to call Toastmaster Lynn for a timer's report for our two evaluators, please.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. So Toastmaster Vanessa came in at 3 minutes and 22 seconds and Toastmaster Jamie at 3 minutes and 19 seconds. So they both qualify.
Thank you, Toastmaster Lynn, and a reminder to everybody on Zoom and in person, please vote for your favorite evaluator this evening. I know there are two very difficult choices to be made, and so please pick whichever one you preferred. I would like to spend a few minutes just going over an evaluation of the meeting as a whole, starting with Toastmaster of the Day, John. John, you never disappoint. You had an outstanding topic. You had relevant information. You gave us phenomenal examples, and your delivery, both in style and content, was incredible. Your topic was about being in the zone. Well, let me just summarize by saying you hit it out of the zone. And once again, you were a great example of what we should all be striving for when we're in position of being Toastmaster. The meeting flowed well. You introduced people appropriately, and it was both informative and entertaining, which is a home run. Congratulations to our speakers. I wanted to compliment Dr. Harvey and also David, even though David did not end up speaking, because both of them put their pathways and their speech titles on the agenda ahead of time, which is extremely, extremely important. So if you know you're going to be speaking ahead of time, please don't forget to put your topic and your title on the agenda so people who are doing your evaluation have access to what you're going to be speaking on and also your evaluation forms. I'd also like to remind our two evaluators to please complete the evaluation forms for our speakers. Alan, congratulations. You gave an outstanding speech for somebody who spoke for the first time in front of our group. Table topics, I thought Connor did an excellent job. Your questions were fantastic. And congratulations to all of the respondents who gave thought-provoking and also very entertaining answers. I'd also like to point out that Vanessa and Harvey did an excellent job at the beginning of the meeting when we were introducing our guests and giving people an opportunity to say a few words. I'd like to close with a comment on our two evaluators. Normally, this would be part of the meeting where the general evaluator would provide constructive feedback to our evaluators. I thought both did an outstanding job, and both of you were well organized. You gave thoughtful comments. You had structure to your evaluations and hit the nail on the head in terms of our goal, which is to help each of our speakers grow. And just a suggestion for people who are new to our group, one of the things that I would do when I would take on a new role, I would go back and view previous meetings and look at others who did the role that I was going to be taking on. And when you're going to be an evaluator, watching the 2 evaluations from this evening would be a great way for you to prepare yourself. I would now like to introduce our grammarian, Colin, but prior to doing so, I'd like to congratulate Colin. I love the introduction. I love the use of your diagram between consciousness and competency. That was fantastic. In summary, it was totally sublime. So please now join us to give your grammarian report.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Eric. I very much appreciate those kind words and echo your sentiments about the outstanding job that everyone has done this evening. I have the, I would not say pleasure, but necessary evil of informing everyone of their use of filler words this evening. But first, I'd like to begin with words of praise for the individuals who used the word of the day, sublime. And those were Vanessa, John, Lynn, Harvey, David, Eric, Heather, and Carla. It's very well done. Connor, your use of filler words this evening was very minimal, just 1 ah. Good job. Vanessa, I only heard 1 so and 1 ah. Andrea, I heard nothing. Very well done. John, I only heard 2 uhs, and considering how much you spoke this evening, I think that's quite a feat. Lynn, I only heard 1 so. Very well done as well. Harvey, I heard absolutely no filler words from you whatsoever. Thank you for giving us something to strive for, me in particular. On that subject, I had 2 ums, 2 so's, 1 ah, and 1 up. Clearly, I have some self-improvement to do as I move from unconscious incompetency towards conscious competency. Dr. Laxer, I heard 2 so's and 5 uhs. Jamie, I heard 1 1 so, 2 ahs, and 7 uhs. Ahs and uhs. Sorry, I'm trying to enunciate clearly. I did make a distinction in my notes between the 2. Alan, I heard 2 ums, 7 likes, 1 so, and 2 uhs. Heather, I heard 2 ums, 4 so's, and Carla, I heard 1 so. Overall, very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. I would now like to turn the meeting back to our Toastmaster of the evening, John Cappello.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. Valuation section, well done. Thank you. Appreciate the kind remarks. Now, at this time, we're going to see who really got into the zone tonight. I'm going to welcome our immediate past present fellow Toastmaster David Jones to let us know how we did on our ballot counting today.
Thank you, sir. Our best table topics goes to Eric, who's online. Congratulations, Eric. Our best evaluator, or favorite, because everybody's the best. Favorite evaluator goes to Jamie. Jamie, congratulations. Congrats. Our favorite speaker, I believe it's the first time in a long time, it goes to Dr. Harvey. Congratulations, Dr. Harvey. Our favorite, well, it's not favorite, but you get an award for Icebreaker. So Alan, if you want to come up and get your award for Icebreaker. Congratulations. One more, Alan. And also, as a new member, welcome to Queen City Toastmasters. All right, perfect. And with that, I'll turn it back to our Toastmaster. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Toastmaster David. Congrats again to Toastmaster Alan on his Icebreaker. We're running a little short on time. And I just one closing remark. I hope I have convinced one or some of you about the importance of being an in the zone mindset and having one. If you focus, if you're resilient, and if you just believe, you too can be in the zone. Toastmaster Vanessa, I turn things back to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster John. Excellent job as our Toastmaster of the evening, as always. And at this point, well, let's see. usually I'll have some announcements. I do want to take a minute to recognize a couple of our Toastmasters here tonight who competed in the Division C contest and did excellent jobs. We have Eric Laxer, who is advancing to the table topics at the district level. So that is the 30th, I believe is not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Congratulations, Eric. And Andrea Williams placed second at the Division C level behind Sarah Mary, who is also part of our sister club. So we just did such a great job at that contest. And I just wanted to give a special shout out to them. And I will send details on the upcoming Zoom contest for the district level as soon as that is available, so you all can participate on Zoom. I do want to take a minute to ask our guests if they have any feedback. Do any of our guests in person or on Zoom want to share thoughts about tonight's meeting?
Guest thoughts? Good, bad, or indifferent?
I want to say thank y'all for everybody who came up here. Thank you for having me. I can, while I'm up here, I'll say my in the zone moment for me is, God rest his soul, Kobe Bryant. Mama mentality. If y'all don't know what that is Kobe had pretty much a way of doing things. It was, going to the gym early, be the last one to leave, just showing up on time, always just, being great at what he did, being very sublime of his attributes and contribution to his team. And also throughout life, he went on to, I think he got a Academy Award for, he did something with film, but he was just inspiration to me while he was living and after he passed. So I apply that to my life on whatever I do as far as work, or when I have a bad day, or just, when I'm not feeling good for myself, I always remind myself of how he did things and how he, just got through it, just didn't complain, just did it. I mean, the Lakers, they had their ups and downs, but he stayed there. He didn't leave. No matter who he had on his team, he always he stayed there and just, went through the stride. So I try to apply my life, through his grace. And, just going on what Toastmaster John said with Michael Jordan, that's my inspiration to my life. And he always will be. But thank you, everybody today. Y'all did great. And if you have any problems of wanting to be on stage or get stage fright or just anything throughout life, just think of that one person or just anything that could motivate you, whether it be your kids, your mom, your dad, uncle, grandmother, grandfather, whoever it is that person is. Always just believe in that and believe in yourself. Because if you don't believe in yourself, then who's going to believe in you? Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Are there any other guest comments before we wrap up?
If you don't mind.
There was a thank you.
Yes.
Nobody?
I'd like to say one thing, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. We had a comment from someone on Zoom, from Matthew. Is that all right?
Yes, I'll only take a second. While I enjoyed everyone's speech, I really enjoyed Colin's chart. I'm trying to recall it. I think it was unconscious incompetence to unconscious competence. And I thought that was very well presented. And it in a way was able, looking for the word, but it was a perfect representation of what I was saying initially in my speech, where I want to achieve a level of unconscious competence. That said, I thought all the speeches were wonderful tonight, and I strive to be able to speak that well in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Matthew. I agree with you. I loved that chart that Colin utilized as grammarian. I think it was so helpful to understand how that process works of unlearning habits. And yes, it was very creative. Any other guest remarks? All right, any closing comments from our officer team? Any announcements I missed? Looks like we have a hand raised in the back, but I can't quite tell. All right, hopefully everyone's good. All right, well, looks like we have one comment.
Just real quick, you will be receiving an email from Toastmasters headquarters on the 20th if you have not completed level 1. Just encouraging you to do it before June, which is basically the end of the next period. Also, there will be a software update, and as part of that process, the pathways system is going to be down for a couple of days. So be on the watch out for that. If you run into any issues, you can send me an email, communicate with me, but I won't be able to help you, but at least tell you when it's going to be back up. Thank you.
Thank you, Elvis. That's a good reminder about pathways. Wonderful. All right. Well, with that, if there are no other comments, I will say another thank you to everyone for making this such a successful meeting. And I hope to see you all next Tuesday. Have a great evening.